I'm Stephanie, and today I'm going to show you how to bake and decorate with shaped pans. Shaped pans are sometimes called novelty pans or character pans. Essentially, these are not your standard round, square, or loaf pans. They come in lots of shapes and sizes, and they're really fun to use, especially for kids' birthday parties and themed parties. These pans look kind of advanced, but they're actually deceivingly simple to use, and today we're here to help. But before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our videos. The term shaped pan applies to this heart pan or character pans like this dinosaur pan. For today's project, I'll be showing you how to bake and decorate in the dinosaur pan, but all the steps would be similar if you're using any other shape. What I love about shaped pans, aside from the fact that they make such cool shapes, is that baking is very easy. It's almost like baking in any other cake pan, but if you look closely, there's lots of corners and grooves which create detail and serve as your guide when you're decorating. The cake can cling to these details, so make sure you grease your pans so well that you get a nice, smooth release. For this heart pan, watch out for corners like the top and bottom point. You can use a nonstick spray like Bake Easy to generously cover the surface. You can also use cake release if you'd like. If your spray starts pulling or you're not getting the small details, just take a pastry brush and help it spread. We want to have a nice even coat. I've already prepared a cake mix. You can use your favorite. Shaped pans generally take 1 box of cake mix, which is exactly what I have here, or a 2-layer cake recipe. These pans typically hold about 4 to 5 cups of batter. Pour your batter into the pan. I'm going to use an angled spatula to spread the batter evenly. It really helps to get into those corners so you don't end up with a lot of cake in the middle and the edges are too thin. You want a nice even layer. I love this angled spatula because it keeps my fingers out of the batter. Our cake is ready for the oven. Follow your recipe for bake time and temperature. That can vary a little bit though, depending on the type of cake that you're baking. My cake is done. I'm going to put it on a cooling rack for about 10 to 15 minutes. Be patient. If you take it out of the pan too quickly, it might be too soft and it might break. Sometimes your cake will have a little bit of a dome. We'll need to remove this. This will be the back of the cake, so we want it to lay flat so it won't wobble or crack once we've started decorating. While it's still in the pan, still slightly warm, so be careful, I'm going to take my serrated knife and I'm going to level this dome. I'm just going to use the edges of the cake pan as a guide to keep my knife flat while I'm cutting. I'm going to let the pan do the work for me. That was pretty easy, right? Not too bad. Next, we're going to take our cake out of the pan. I'm going to put the cooling rack against the cake pan. Now hold these two tightly, then flip. Now carefully lift the pan off. This is perfect. Look at all the detail we have here. If you have some parts that have cracked or stuck to the pan a bit, don't worry. We're gonna decorate over those imperfections with icing. I'm going to let this cake cool completely for about 2 hours before I transfer the cake to a cake board or serving platter. Once my cake is cool completely, we are ready to transfer it to a platter or board. The most important thing to remember is to hold everything tightly and move quickly so that your cake doesn't crack. I'm going to hold the cake board against the cake. Hold the board, the cake, and the rack tightly and move quickly to turn it over. Next, I'm going to lift off the rack. Now I'm going to hold the cake board against the cake. I'm going to quickly turn this over. You can serve this on a cake board, or if you're using a platter, just make sure it's not too heavy so it doesn't crush your cake. If you have a cake lifter, transferring is a lot easier. Just slide the blade under the cake, lift, and place on your platter. Now that my cake is cooled, it's time to ice and decorate. You'll need 2 batches of buttercream for this, about 4 to 5 cups. First, we're going to use 1.5 cups of thin consistency icing to ice the sides and background. For this amount, I added about 3 teaspoons of liquid to 1.5 cups of our buttercream recipe. The rest will color to make our decorations, and those will need to be medium consistency. To learn more about buttercream icing consistency, make sure to check out the video linked below. We'll have some really good tips for you. To ice, I'm going to use my angled spatula again. We're going to ice the sides and the background of the dinosaur, so the parts between the arm and the neck, not the actual dinosaur. Now that my cake is iced, we're ready to decorate. I printed a picture of the dinosaur cake, so I have that as a reference while I'm decorating. There's a link below with a printable version of this project, complete with a handy reference picture and the colors that I'm using for this cake. I'm going to show you how to make 3 techniques for decorating this cake that you can use on other projects as well. I'm going to show you how to make smooth details, lines, and star fill-in. For smooth details, like the spikes, the teeth, the mouth, and the eyeballs, we're going to outline the shape and fill it in using a tip 3. To smooth it out, you can do 2 things. You can use a spatula and just use a back and forth motion to smooth it out. These details are small, so I recommend using a tapered spatula because the tip is much smaller compared to a regular angled spatula. You have much more control, especially with narrow shapes like this. Or you can wait 30 minutes and let your buttercream crust over just a little bit. Dab your finger in some cornstarch, not too much, and just very lightly pat the icing smooth. Just like that, super easy. Next, I'm going to show you how to pipe lines. We're going to use this for the mouth, nostril, the eyes, the nails, and the spikes. We're also piping lines all over to create definition. I'm using tip 3 and also tip 5 for thicker lines for the belly and tail. To make nice clean lines, we're going to touch the tip on one end, squeeze, and then lift the tip slightly. Keep squeezing as we let the line drop down. Now touch the tip back down to the cake surface. Stop squeezing and pull away. You can do straight lines or curved shapes. It's all the same technique. Now, this might not be perfect the first time, but don't worry, it takes a little bit of practice. You might want to do a few tries on a plate or a paper towel just to get the hang of it. Our details are done and it's really starting to come together. To cover this cake, we're going to use the star fill-in technique using tip 18. It's really simple. I'm going to hold my bag straight up and down. My tip is just a little bit above the surface so my star can build. I'm going to squeeze, stop, and pull away. Squeeze, stop, and pull away. If you pull away before stopping, you would get a pull-out star. The tips will have peaks and your design will look a bit shaggy. What we want is a classic star. When you're doing your star fill-in, try your best to cluster your stars together to make it look fuller and to cover the cake underneath. Try as much as you can to keep your pressure consistent so you have the same size star every time. If your hands get tired, take a break. There's no harm in that. Just keep your cake and your icing covered and you should be good to go. To complete this cake, I'm going to use black candy-coated chocolate. I'm just going to place these carefully around the outer edge. You can also pipe a dot border around the cake. If you're still perfecting your icing technique, this step is great for hiding your edges and it will make it look cleaner. And that's it! This dinosaur cake was so much fun to make and he is so cute. And now you know all the steps. If you're a beginner cake decorator, these are easy techniques to try. When you get a little bit more comfortable, you can put these all together and make a cake just like this one. I guarantee it will be the hit at your next party. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel for more tutorials like this, and don't forget to leave us a comment on what other videos you'd like to see from our channel. I'm Stephanie from Wilton. Thanks for watching.